Have you ever found yourself doing something you didn't want to do just to please someone else? Have you ever felt used, controlled, manipulated? Michel de Montaigne, one of the most lucid thinkers in history, left us timeless lessons on how to preserve our inner freedom in a world full of psychological games. In this video, you will discover how to never be manipulated again using the wisdom of one of the greatest philosophers of the Renaissance. Number 1. The greatest thing in the world is to know that you belong to yourself. The greatest thing in the world is to know that you belong to yourself. This quote from Michel de Montaigne carries a power that many ignore in their daily rush. When you don't know who you are, anyone can decide for you. You become vulnerable to the opinions of others, the desires of others, the expectations of others. Being manipulated starts right there, the moment you cease to be your own master. Montaigne reminds us that true freedom is not about doing whatever you want, but about knowing your values, your limits, and your real desires deeply. When you know yourself, no one can bend you with empty promises, emotional threats, or guilt games. Manipulation loses its power in the face of a solid mind that knows what it wants and what it doesn't want. Belonging to yourself means knowing how to say no without guilt, refusing what doesn't resonate with your essence, and not needing the constant approval of others to follow your path. It means being at peace with your decisions, even when they are unpleasant. Montaigne knew that a life guided by one's own conscience is a life immune to manipulation. And that takes practice, observing yourself, reflecting before acting, silencing external noise to hear your own inner voice. The more you belong to yourself, the less others control you. And that is one of the greatest freedoms a human being can achieve. Number 2, avoid those who impose absolute certainties. Michel de Montaigne said that doubt is a sign of intelligence. For him, those who impose absolute certainties are, in fact, the most dangerous. This is because those who have all the answers usually do not accept questions, do not tolerate critical thinking, and often aim to dominate, not to dialogue. Manipulators act exactly like this. They present easy solutions, ready-made truths, and a seductive discourse that demands obedience, not reflection. They don't want you to think, just to agree. Montaigne warns us about this type of person because he saw the human mind as limited, imperfect, and always unfinished. Therefore, instead of seeking absolute truths, he encouraged intellectual humility, recognizing that we can be wrong, that truth can have many facets, and that questioning is a sign of strength, not weakness. If someone tries to convince you that there is only one way, their way, be wary. The more absolute someone's certainty is, the more fragile its foundation tends to be. Manipulators avoid nuances and put you up against the wall. Either you're with them or you're wrong. Montaigne teaches us to escape this game with a powerful weapon: honest doubt. Ask questions, analyze, compare, observe. Doubt protects. Doubt liberates. After all, those who are afraid of being questioned may not have the truth, just a discourse to control you. Thinking for yourself is an act of resistance, and Montaigne knew this centuries before the idea became popular. Number 3. Don't try to please everyone. Michel de Montaigne, with his timeless wisdom, warns us of a silent but devastating mistake: trying to please everyone. Deep down, the constant need to be accepted is an open invitation to manipulation. Those who live seeking approval are always vulnerable because they place their own value in the hands of others. Montaigne understood that most of our virtuous actions are actually motivated by vanity. That is, we do them to look good, not necessarily to be good. And manipulators know this. They perceive your thirst for recognition and use it against you. They praise you to win you over, demand things to keep you around, and when they realize you don't know how to say no, they put you in increasingly uncomfortable situations, all because you're afraid of disappointing them. But here's the truth. The more you try to please others, the further you stray from yourself. Montaigne proposed a life in which inner contentment was more important than external applause. He believed that the freedom to be who you are, even if it displeases others, is worth much more than any social mask. When you learn not to depend on other people's smiles to feel good, you become immune to emotional manipulation. Pleasing others is not wrong, but living to please others is giving up your autonomy. Those who please too much lose themselves, so choose wisely. Either you live according to your convictions, or you live at the mercy of others. Number 4. Recognize your weaknesses and accept them. Montaigne was one of the few philosophers who had the courage to write without disguises about his own weaknesses. He knew that acknowledging our flaws did not weaken us. On the contrary, it frees us. Manipulators thrive on the insecurity of others. They probe their weaknesses, their hidden shame, their deepest fears, and use them as tools to control them. But when you accept who you are, flaws and all, the game changes completely. There is nothing they can throw at you that you haven't already faced yourself. Montaigne believed that true strength lies in looking inward with honesty, without deluding yourself. By admitting your limitations, you become more human and paradoxically stronger. No one can manipulate a person who is at peace with themselves, because that person no longer depends on external approval to exist. Recognizing your weaknesses is not about accepting them, but rather understanding them, embracing them, and learning to act with awareness, rather than on impulse or defensively. The greatest armor against any kind of manipulation is self-knowledge. Those who know where it hurts, where they make mistakes, where they stumble, also know where they need to be vigilant. Montaigne teaches us that it is better to live with your imperfections than to live trying to hide them. Because the more you pretend to be invincible, the more easily you will be defeated by those who know where your mask fails. And the worst kind of slavery is that of those who try to appear perfect all the time. Number 5, get closer to those who give you freedom, not control. Michel de Montaigne deeply valued friendship, but not just any kind of relationship. He cherished those that allow you to be yourself, without masks, without pressure, without manipulation. In a world where so many people get close to you just to take something from you, he invites us to observe carefully, does this person liberate me or control me? Healthy relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendly, are those in which there is room for the other person to breathe, think, and decide without fear. Manipulators do the opposite. They envelop, trap, and suffocate with demands disguised as affection, with advice that sounds like orders, with a concern that actually wants to keep you under surveillance. Montaigne understood that true affection respects free will. He did not want bonds based on emotional dependence, but rather on mutual admiration and autonomy. Being with someone should not mean giving up yourself. On the contrary, good relationships strengthen us, expand us, and make us freer. When someone demands that you change your essence to be accepted, that's not love, it's control. When someone is bothered by your freedom, it's because it threatens the dominance they try to exert over you. Montaigne reminds us that getting close to those who encourage you to think for yourself is a way to preserve your sanity. Freedom is the foundation of any dignified relationship. And those who truly love you don't hold you back. They set you free. Number 6, beware of emotional rhetoric. Michel de Montaigne understood the human mind as complex, but he knew that emotion can often be manipulated for selfish ends. He warned us about the power of emotional speeches, especially those that appeal to fear, guilt, or pity in order to influence our decisions. Manipulators often use these emotions to generate a quick, often irrational response that prevents us from thinking clearly. By appealing to the most vulnerable side of our emotions, they lead us to decisions that, upon rational analysis, we would never make. Montaigne recognized that, although emotions are a fundamental part of our human experience, we must develop the ability to question these reactions. When someone tries to directly appeal to your emotions, it is essential to take a step back and reflect, is what is being said true or just a way to control me? Emotional speech may seem legitimate, but behind the words there may be a desire to manipulate. Manipulators know that emotion is one of the most effective ways to influence people because it acts quickly, without reasoning getting in the way. Therefore, Montaigne teaches us to act cautiously in the face of emotional appeals. Instead of making hasty decisions under emotional pressure, we should breathe, reflect, and act with discernment. Those who manipulate emotionally do not care about your well-being. They want you to act according to what is convenient for them. The key to emotional freedom is self-control, the ability to not be swept away by speeches that touch the emotions, but rather to reflect calmly before acting. Number 7. Practice voluntary withdrawal. Michel de Montaigne teaches us the importance of voluntary withdrawal, something essential for preserving our inner peace and autonomy in a world constantly overwhelmed by external expectations. He believed that, in order to find balance, it is necessary from time to time to distance ourselves from the chaos around us, from social pressure, from the constant noise that tries to shape us. The practice of voluntary withdrawal is not just an escape, but a form of self-knowledge and strengthening of the mind. When we remove ourselves from the hustle and bustle, we are able to see things clearly, without the influence of other people's opinions or the expectations they place on us. Montaigne recognized that manipulation often occurs precisely in this space between our decisions and external pressures. It is at this moment that we are most vulnerable. Withdrawal, therefore, allows us to act with greater freedom and awareness. By distancing ourselves, we are able to re-evaluate our relationships, our choices, and even our beliefs. Modern life, with its overload of information and interactions, often prevents us from finding this space for reflection. But Montaigne suggests that by practicing voluntary withdrawal, we find a place of quiet where we can return to ourselves. It is in this space that we can discover what we really want and need, without the manipulative influences of the outside world. Therefore, every time we feel surrounded by external pressures, we can seek this distance, whether for a few hours or even days, to reconnect with our essence and make clearer decisions, far from manipulation and external influences. Montaigne did not give us magic formulas, but rather philosophical tools to live more consciously. And the truth is that no one can manipulate you. If you are present, attentive and whole within yourself, remember the greatest achievement is to belong to yourself. Only for the determined people who stayed until the end of this video, comment below, "I stayed until the end." That way, I'll know who really wants to take control of their life once and for all. Take care and see you in the next video.